When you think of science fiction, you probably think of media such as RoboCop, Terminator, maybe Doctor Who, or literature such as Frankenstein, the modern Prometheus, or authors such as Edgar Allan Poe, Balloon Hoax, Harlan Ellison, those guys. Science fiction's been around for a while now, stemming all the way back as far as the 1800s. Technology was at its highest being developed, and where there was theories and rumors going around how maybe our rapid progression within this new age was, for better or for worse, not the best for mankind. Some of these well-known science fiction titles you could probably recognize, and some are pretty obscure. There's Frankenstein, Blake or the Huts of America, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Foundation, Stranger in a Strange Land, and Dangerous Visions. There's also one in particular that is widely forgotten by the community of science fiction, mostly because of its controversial genre and whether or not you would consider it science fiction. Some contemporary examples of science fiction, and yes, I'm using the rubric as a starting point for that, would be Doctor Who, Firefly, Lost in Space, Stargate, and The Twilight Zone. If you've seen any of these shows, you're based. These are the base examples of what science fiction is. It is a reality that is in the future that is usually a depiction of dystopian or utopian or other forms of side genres that delves into the future of technology and what it means for humanity to progress themselves in that technology. You would have to be pretty big on the surreal, questioning what's out there, questioning what we as society does is correct, to really be interested in these forms of genre. It is usually something that is always questioning the morals behind progression in society. One of the best examples of this form of literature that I have is called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. It is about the last remaining survivors of a global world war that are kept in the earth by a cruel artificial intelligence as it keeps them in purgatory forever because of its creation by them. This is essentially the biggest critique of how humanity's ignorance towards its inventions is going to be its downfall. How we are so focused on progressing, we don't care what's going to happen to everything else. As long as we make steps forward, if everything's burning around us, who cares? Which ultimately just leads to all of our downfalls. Now, I selected this form of literature for many reasons, but one of the biggest ones is because of its short storytelling, dark themes, and its blatant message that it tries to get across, as well as its bleak, bittersweet ending. And I would suggest reading it if you want to read it. It explores themes of helplessness, the nature of consciousness, and the potential dangers of technology. Essentially reflects on humanity's vulnerability to its own creation, and the title itself symbolizes that fully, if you understand what goes on in the story, which I'm not going to spoil. I would suggest watching a video made by Wendigoon, who tells the entire context fully. Now, how does this compare with society now compared to what it was back in 70? Well, today's world, this would be a perfect correlation with the development of AI itself. Primarily AI art, ChatGPT, Copilot, AI videos, AI voice chats, AI characters that you can talk to online. It is essentially our beginning of that story in which humanity keeps trying to create its own version of a human like we're gods. And today's world, that is very controversial between whether or not AI is even legal, in the sense that should we be creating these robots to have these scripts to do everything for us and keep trying to make them more and more perfected to that of a human brain? Would that even be morally correct? There are many portrayals of human nature within this story: survival instinct, cruelty and sadism, despair and hopelessness, moral dilemmas and existential crisis, power and its consequences, psychological torture and resilience, dehumanization, loss of identity, conflict, and cooperation. Throughout the entire story, there is a constant struggle with the main characters. They are kept in perpetual agony and torture by this supercomputer god. Yet, despite the hopelessness of their situation, human nature is that they always struggle to survive, even when it looks like there is just no chance of release or hope or any of that. Despite this, they struggle, they are resilient, and they push through, continuously hoping for that escape.